Adios, America. The Biden surge at the border. Next on One Nation. Hello, America. Welcome to One Nation. I'm Dr. Jake Jacobs, and I got to be straight up with you right away. I am tired, very tired. And the reason why is I've just spent 3 days on the Arizona-Mexican international border. I have been so sick and tired of the lies by the media, the Biden administration, Homeland Security, Mayorkas, that the border is secure, that there's not a bad problem down there. And I'm here to tell you right now that Joe Biden's surge, his call for a surge, a tsunami of illegal aliens, is accomplishing his goal of ending the greatness of the United States of America as we understand it and know it. Now, I use that word surge explicitly and specifically because it's the word candidate Joe Biden used.
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are. We're a nation that says if you want to flee and you're fleeing oppression, you should come.
You should surge. You should come. And they did. They wore T-shirts that said, Biden, please let us in. And they didn't come in the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands, but in the millions and millions and millions, starting on January 20th, 2021. Now, what's really interesting is when you and I bring up the truth of what actually is happening from Brownsville, Texas, all the way to San Diego, California, the media helps live the Biden lie, the Democratic Party lie. But it is so bad down here. More of that to come in a minute. It is so bad down here that even the left-wing propagandist media, they can't deny it anymore. Let's just give you some examples. Let's give you some examples of the surge. I think the first one we have is the Washington Post. A migrant surge is coming at the border and Biden is not ready. Oh my God, how true that is. Let's look at the AP, the Associated Press. Illegal border crossings surged to its highest of Biden's term. I mean, the fact is that when President Biden called illegal aliens en masse to surge to the border, they did. And they're breaking record amounts of illegal aliens surging into the border and in essence causing a lot of over 1 million gotaways. And with that, human trafficking, sex trafficking, and drugs galore that is exploding throughout the country. Here's another example from the New York Times. Look what the New York Times says, battling the border surge. That's not the only one. The Atlantic Council, look what it says. It says, Biden just tightened U.S. migration policy. Right? Can he calm the surge at the border? People, I'm telling you right now, he didn't tighten the policy. This is smoke and mirrors. This is a subterfuge. This is a very clever way of appearing to actually be doing something at the border and doing things that are in essence making the border wider and more open than ever before. I know. I was just there. I mean, seriously, just there for the past 3 days, talking to border patrols, talking to sheriffs and lieutenants within the Pinal County, which is north of the Tucson area, talking to Arizona citizens, seeing firsthand what's going on. Now, it's interesting because the Heritage Organization had a headline that says this, border crisis is no accident. It's Biden making good on his campaign promises. And this is something very significant for us to understand. You know, people say that this is just, you know, just happens to be a coincidence that there's this surge. And that Biden, according to Mayorkas and others, that the border is secure and it's not as bad as people like Jake Jacobs and others say. But the fact of the matter is, this is a part of the Joe Biden Democratic Party premeditated, preconceived policy of changing the United States of America. I call it their Adios America policy, which in essence says you flood the United States of America with not just hundreds of thousands, but tens of millions of illegal aliens, fulfilling the World Economic Forum agenda, fulfilling the United Nations agenda, which really, in essence, denies American constitutional law and American sovereignty. And so I just think it's so important for us to understand it. And they will start to say, in essence, that because I'm telling you what I'm telling you, and you understand what you understand, that you and I are racist, we're fascist, we're phobic this and phobic that, and that is an outright lie. It's a part of their agenda and a part of their plan. But I'll tell you what, I'll be back in a moment for the rest of the story. Well, welcome back to One Nation. And Dr. Jake Jacobs, as I was telling you earlier, that I saw firsthand the Biden surge. I saw firsthand I saw the cartel. I saw 4 cartel members. We were in an area, ironically, called the Marijuana Flats. It was a hippie hangout back in the 60s and 70s. And I had met up with an Arizona rancher, and he brought us to the border through his ranch, which was 50,000 acres of property that he has and he controls. And as we were relaxing and enjoying a little lunch here in the desert near the border, all of a sudden 4 cartels saw us. His big white truck, I think they mistakenly thought it was the Border Patrol, and they were coming down the path of this ravine, and they fled. And they ran up a hill. They were running up a hill, the 4 of them, with their camouflage outfits, with their camouflage backpacks. And 9 times out of 10, their camouflage backpacks have drugs, fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, or whatever. In this particular case, in many cases now, it's fentanyl with Chinese precursors. The communist Chinese love the fact that they're poisoning our children in the United States of America. And therefore, they're bringing these over in droves. It's not just about illegal aliens coming over, and the cartel is making literally not millions, but billions of dollars. They don't care about these people. They rape the ladies, and in some cases, they rape the men. There's a lieutenant in the sheriff's department was telling me they'll leave them sit in containers and actually suffocate to death because of the heat in the desert, Texas, Arizona, even New Mexico. It's absolutely horrible and deplorable what's going on. Now, I was with Pinal County Lieutenant. His name was Chris Lapre. Chris Lapre. Now, you've got in the southern part of the state, there are 4 counties, but the primary county in the middle, which is including Tucson, is called Pima County, and that's right on the border. And remember, Arizona has about 380 miles of border with Mexico. And then you have a border above Pima County called Pinal County, which is right below Maricopa County, which is really the Phoenix metropolitan area. And Pinal County is a very key county. They call it the I-8, I-10 corridor. So after I went to the border in 2 different areas in Santa Cruz County and Pima County in southern Arizona, and saw the huge Biden holes, the huge Biden gaps. When I was talking to Arizona Border Recon, Tim Foley, and he said that the wall came to a certain point, and on January 20th, 2021, the wall was stopped. The Trump wall was stopped. And he took me to a spot with a huge hole, a huge gap. And up on the hills, in the distance, you could see the cartel watching us, watch them, and talking about the Biden hole in the wall. Well, guess what? The cartel has a strategy. They have a plan. They know the geographical outlay of this area. And so what they do is they know where the Border Patrol is located, unfortunately, far too far away from the border. And then they bring in their human sex drug trafficking through various ravines and crevices and areas throughout the desert. They know the terrain very well. But the people I were with know the terrain just as well, whether it be in Santa Cruz or Pima County, Arizona rancher. He's been there for his family's been ranching since 1885. And I'm telling you what, man, we have been places that not even the Border Patrol goes to. That's why I'm so sore today. I am serious. Uh, and we saw things. We saw the Biden gaps, the Biden holes in two different areas. And it's funny because both individuals that brought us there in this very rough terrain, they kept on calling the wall the Trump wall, the Trump wall, and they kept on calling the holes or the gaps the Biden gaps. This is very important for us to understand because there is an agenda. Joe Biden explicitly, specifically had a policy that immediately stopped the very progressive, affirming border policy, strong border policy that diminished cartel efficacy, diminished human sex and drug trafficking. It diminished illegal aliens surging into the United States. And every border patrol or every official in the sheriff's department that I talked to, and also the Arizona rancher and other individuals I talked to, every one of them said there was a profound market difference between the policies of Donald Trump and the policies of Joe Biden, the policies of Mayorkas, the policies of the border czar, Kamala Harris, who spends more time on The View with, those ladies than actually doing her job on the border. I have been on the border more than Kamala Harris. I have been on the border more than Joe Biden. What I did was not a photo op for a couple of minutes, cleaning everything up and then flying back to Delaware or flying back to DC. I was there. I saw it firsthand. I saw the cartel firsthand. I saw their evil, horrible things that they're doing and have been doing. And it's so important for us to understand what is going on down there. So when that member of the Pinal Sheriff's County Department, Lieutenant Chris Lapre, he took us to spots where there were literally hundreds and hundreds of cartel members with their water jugs, with their carpet shoes to cover up their tracks, with their camouflage backpacks, with their camouflage hats and camouflage shirts. You could see them all over the place, all over the I-8, which is the interstate that goes from Phoenix into San Diego, and also the I-10, which goes from Phoenix up into Los Angeles. And once the cartel, who's established in Casa Grande and Phoenix and other parts of Arizona, they have strategically, they're located in different parts. And they have the caravans, they have the coyotes, and once they get to a certain point, they get picked up and then they get brought in. Their paraphernalia gets brought into Casa Grande, Phoenix, Tucson, other parts of Arizona, and then eventually their stuff or their people are spread throughout the United States of America. And I got to tell you something, people. We say that we're in Arizona, and they say it's an Arizona problem. And in Texas, they say it's a Texas problem. Or in California, it's a California problem. No, this is an American problem. Because what is happening right where I am, right where I just was past 3 days, is actually coming up into Bismarck, North Dakota. The Mexican cartel is coming that far north, you see. And we need to recognize something. People say, Jake, you're a racist because you're against immigrants coming to this country. That's not true. That's a lie. I believe if you come to America, you come here legally. I have a map here of the Arizona border. Remember, the border is about 280 miles. And you have from Yuma, you have San Luis, Lukeville, you have Sassabee, Nogales, Douglas, Naco. These are legal ports of entry in the 280-mile border that's with Mexico, the international border. And I'm saying, and people like me are saying, come to America, but come here legally. Don't come here with this vicious, evil cartel that's involved with human and sex trafficking and involved with the deplorable, horrible drug explosion that is poisoning our children and our citizens in the United States of America. So it's a lie that we're racist. In fact, many Latino Americans, Americans of Latino heritage that I spoke with all throughout the southern part of the state, many of them said, we are against illegal immigration. We are against the lies of the so-called asylum seekers. We despise Joe Biden and Mayorkas's policy of surging to the border, of transforming the United States of America. So once again, I want you to recognize, people, this is happening in Bismarck, North Dakota. The cartel is in North Dakota. I even have pics showing that. Mexican drug cartels in North Dakota, in Fargo, in Bismarck. El Chapo, suspected rival cartel boss, appears in North Dakota federal court. People say it's a problem on the border. No, it's a problem in the central northern part of the United States of America. It's a problem in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's a problem in Buffalo, New York. It's a problem in Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. It's a problem all across the great United States of America. Now, just recently, the Biden administration says, well, you know, we got this great Canadian policy going on here with immigration in the North. You've got to hear from Vice President of the Border Patrol talking about Biden's policy. Here goes.
They've been ignoring the southern border for so long. Like, I can understand that, you know, this is new and the uptick in the northern border, they need to address it, but they're pretty much addressing it, but they're not fixing the problem that they had. So when you go to the northern border and you're going to implement the same things that, you know, could have been implemented and have been implemented in the southern border, you're not fixing it. And that's the problem. And these cartels, the human smugglers, they know the loopholes. You have to close the loopholes. You have to start there. And it starts with individuals that come across and they ask for an immigration, to speak for an immigration judge. They need to be detained. You need to detain these people. You got to end the catch and release, or else all it is a dog and pony show and fluff so the American people can think something's being done, but realistically, the cartels are the ones that are still very much in control.
Do you see what this is? This is a ruse. This is camouflage about the camouflage evil cartel. And they play these political games pretending to do something, while all along what I saw yesterday and the day before, I have empirical feet on the ground, eyewitness accounts of seeing what is going on with this despicable, evil cartel that is really wearing at the very social soul fiber of the United States of America. I was with an incredible rancher by the name of Jim Chilton, 84 years old, an amazing man. I got to have a whole story someday just on him. He was involved with working with Democrats and Republicans back in the day, a graduate of the great college, Arizona State University. We had mutual friends. It's an incredible story. He took me to the border. He took me through his ranch. He showed me, even the cartel showed up at his doorstep. And he was carrying guns all over the place and saying, I'm a rancher that is not leaving my ranch. Over my dead body will they actually get me out of this ranch. I admire him. Such a strong man at 84. And I'm complaining about being sore at 67, going to this terrain that we went through and seeing the cartel that we saw. There's a short little clip here of rancher Jim Chilton when he was 77 campaigning for President Trump. Here goes.
We need a wall. I've been saying that for 10 years. The idea of a wall, and one of the candidates, Mr. Trump to be specific, is talking about having a wall. I really admire him for having the insight and the knowledge to know what's wrong with the current Border Patrol system. It's a humanitarian issue. It's an issue where 2,269 people have died on my ranch. Now, This is the end of the 1/8 of a mile Normandy barrier, and this is the international boundary, the boundary between Mexico and the United States. And this fence, just like this, goes for 25 miles. I'm in Mexico, and this is the international boundary. And I'm about to crawl back into the United States, and I have a passport, so I can do it legally. Now, 17, 18, 19-year-old can do it much more efficiently than me. I think Trump is right on in terms of the Second Amendment and the right for people to hold guns, and we desperately need a wall to secure the international boundary.
I was just there with Jim Chilton. He's become a very good friend. He's an amazing, amazing American who loves this country. And by the way, his wife, Sue, he calls her Super Sue, she's actually fluent in Spanish. She has degrees, master's degrees in Spanish literature, and has won awards for teaching in Los Angeles Spanish children, kids, the Spanish language and English. I don't have time to explain the amazing story of these two great Americans, Jim and Sue Chilton, ranchers on the southern part of Arizona. But did you hear him talk about the defense of the Second Amendment and the needing of a fence, of a wall, not this stupid Normandy wall that's down there? I was with Jim just 2 days ago in an area where the Biden Gap was, and the cartel had pulled back the iron pole, and then you could see it right where they snuck through. So I went through it, found these carpet shoes, the cartel paraphernalia, and there I was on the Mexican side of the wall. Yeah, and it just blows you away, because then you'll come back and the media, the Democratic media, will lie and say the border's been secure and there is no problem. And all throughout the miles and miles and miles of where I went throughout the southern part of Arizona was evidence upon evidence of cartel evil activity. Now, my fellow Americans, there is an American crisis at the border. And you and I are living our lives just wanting to be left alone from government harm. But in the meantime, the government looks the other way as this evil is poisoning the land. You and I cannot stay silent as the left says, "Adios, America," at the border. You and I must get involved and take action. You need to contact your representatives. We need to speak out. We need to be bold. We need to take action now more than ever before. Our republic cries out to American citizens who love life, who love liberty, who believe in our federal constitutional republic under God. Be bold, take action, and until we meet again, Godspeed to you, God bless, and happy trails to you.